Frank Haith Show. Brought to you by Pepsi, Don Thornton Cadillac, TTCU, the Credit Union, River Spirit, and St. Francis Health System. And now your host, Bruce Howard.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Frank Haith Show. I'm Bruce Howard, joined by the head basketball coach at the University of Tulsa. And tough week at home, but boy, every single game is coming down to the closing moments, and you lose a couple of heartbreakers.
Yeah, the two games this week, obviously, the Temple game was coming off our break from COVID, and thought we were a little slow getting going, but we got better. And then, obviously, the game against Houston was just a bang-bang game down the wire.
Yeah, terrific game against the number 11 team in the country. We'll have highlights of both of those games coming up, along with a special feature as well on the Frank Haith Show. We're back on the Frank Haith Show, and Coach, you get ready for the Temple Owls, but the issue obviously is the UCF game was wiped out and you had a little bit of a COVID pause. How do you try to blow through that and get ready for a game?
Well, we had the 5-day off, and then we had the conditioning day, and then we could start practice. So we had 2 days to practice to get ready for Temple. Which, like last year, we only had 1 day prep for Wichita State. So I thought we were in better shape to compete. But as you saw, the first half we were a little sluggish, but we got going better in the second half.
Yeah, still, even with that, 5 days off in the middle of the season just isn't normal, and you're running in mud just a little bit here in the first half, and Temple took the early lead, but there's a three-pointer put up and good for you. Yeah,
LaDavis is starting to play really, really well for us, and the guy's become a reliable shooter. And I thought Ray had a nice game this game also, and we're continuing. He's getting better, and we need his physical play in the paint.
Yeah, and when he gets a one-on-one situation and they're not digging at him, he's really shown nice patience, hasn't he?
He really has, and as you see, we got 3 straight buckets by him, and he kept us in the ball game here early with his aggressiveness.
And one of your younger players will get a follow shot here, and that's a ball that was knocked away, and Gaston Chapman with a nice play for you.
Yeah, and we're going to see more and more of Sterling as the season progresses. I think he's earned the right to get out there and play, and with our numbers, and he's a tough guy, and he those are the kind of plays he can make, because he's around the ball and he's very aggressive.
Yeah, physically strong, and that was his first basket in a TU uniform. And again, you're working down low through Ray Idowu.
Yeah, and Ray single covers, and they were switching a lot, so he ended up having a guard on him down there, and obviously taking his time and finishing it.
Ladavius Drain made a lot of three-pointers at Southern Miss. Now he's starting to make some for you.
Yeah, and like I said, he's become a reliable shooter. He's getting more and more comfortable, and I think I've said it on this show. I can see him making 4 threes in the game. I think he made 4 in this game.
Jourdain had a really good game for Temple as he kind of emerged. He was averaging about 5.5 points a game, but all of a sudden he exploded. And then that outside shot for 3 gave them a little bit of breathing room at 31-20.
Yeah, and Jourdain, like you said, it was just a guy that, we on a scouting report, but he's not a guy you think can go for 20.
Well, there's a driving layup by Darian Jackson. That gets you a little bit closer on the nice steal, and anytime he can give you that, that's a huge break for you.
Yeah, he makes a layup with 1 shoe on. He lost his shoe in that play, but very aggressive and finishing. And
down the backstretch, you get a steal right at the end here and end up with a Drain three-pointer. That knocks the lead down a little further. And, as poorly as you thought you probably played in the first half, here you are in a situation where you're getting steals and you're starting to make some headway, and then you'll get another basket after this one to make it a 3-point game, and that would be your halftime score.
Yeah, and I said just that at halftime, and you can see the 3 we make here is, guys, we got the cobwebs out, and we're only down 3. And we're in really, really good shape, and I thought we were.
Yeah, look at your shooting at 29%, and Temple shot 54%. So those numbers wouldn't make you think a 3-point game, but you guys scratched and clawed and battled to stay in there.
Yeah, and we got some loose balls, turned some balls over, and scored in transition. But we weren't ourselves in terms of our movement on offense. But like I said, I thought we were in great shape.
And here's a missed free throw here in the second half, and Nikita Konstantinovsky with a nice putback, and he's starting to play more for you.
He really is, and starting to play well. But Drain keeps his ball alive, and I talk about, Drain, LaDavis giving us, obviously he's shooting the ball well, but he's playing a lot better.
And this would be his 4th three-pointer coming up. And again, it's Nikita making a nice catch and gather, and then the three-pointer.
We talk about just that play right there, and we had one of those against the Houston game. When you feel crowded and you're down there in the lane, you got three people, we always have guys in the corners, and there's opportunities to find those guys.
And so the Hurricane knocking that lead down, and now you have a situation where Temple's up by 5, and now Temple's up by just 2.
Yeah, and you know, Dry and Sam didn't have good shooting nights this game, and that was one of Dry's 3. I think it's only 3, but we struggled shooting the ball this game from 3.
Get a couple of free throws here from Sam Griffin, who again kind of struggled a little bit from the field, but he makes those 2 free throws, and all of a sudden you've battled back to a 39-39 tie.
Yeah, and you can see here we took the lead, and I think we go up, you know, we end up going up 5 here in this stretch here, and it was good. We were battling back, and then we looked like we got our legs underneath us, and we were in control right now.
Yeah, all part of a 9-0 run for the Golden Hurricane, and TU was up by 5, and then they knock it down to 45-42, and this shot by Ray Idowu will get you back up by 5 at 47-42.
Yeah, and like I said, it looked like we had good rhythm offensively at this point in time after struggling in the first half, and you know, knowing what, you know, like I said, guys taking good shots, sharing the ball, and good rhythm.
And this is done with a driving layup. Tough play, not bad defense at the end of that, but he ends up making a play. Now it's Temple's turn to come from behind and take a lead. And they start to stretch it out a little bit, and this is the Jourdain kid we talked about, who had 23 points in the game, a new career high.
Yeah, and he made some tough shots too, but that was particularly, you know, just on hustle play right there, effort.
A little penetration by Anthony Pritchard and a nice dish.
Yeah, and we're still battling. You know, we're right there. We're still right there, and we've, you know, this team has kind of hung in there and through adversity and whatnot, but we still give ourselves a chance.
And starting to, obviously, Pritchard getting better and better at seeing teammates and that sort of thing, and that time he took it to the rack.
Good drive and finish.
The situation here where Darian Jackson with a penetration into the paint and a nice step through move, huh?
Yeah, real nice, and you can see we're still right there. You know, 2-possession game, 240. It's a big play right here by Jiraiya.
Horn with a bucket to make it a 4-point game, and now you need a stop or two. And unfortunately, you're down by 6 again, but you keep battling and keep getting shots.
And Jiraiya gets hit here, so he makes all 3 free throws and cut it to a 1-possession game right here.
As you can see, it's less than 2 minutes to go, and you're down now 64-61. And you do get a stop, and now well, actually they got a free throw, but now you're cutting into that lead even further. With 21.5 seconds to go, you're down by 2. And then at the end of the game, you get the ball back with a 2-point deficit, and you can't think of anything better than having your best player at the rim for a layup, right?
Yeah, he just missed it. I mean, that's tough. I mean, we drew up out of bounds play and wanted to get him the ball, and he got a chance to drive, and he got right at the rim, and like I said, just missed it.
And so there you see the end of the ball game, and Temple ends up with the win, 69-64. Another tough loss for the Golden Hurricane. Aaron McKee is the head coach for Temple, and they get their first ever win in the city of Tulsa for the Owls as they win by 5. And your shooting got a little bit better, but still at 35%, lowest of the year.
Yeah, we didn't, you know, and they did a good job defensive, but we just, you know, when you, not to put blame on the set out, but your jump shooting is not going to be good when you come back off of 5 days not being able to get in the gym. And I thought our guys, you know, out there in the second half, we were doing what we can do in terms of playing the game the right way.
Yet another comeback for the Hurricane that just falls short. And coming up, it's number 11 Houston coming to town on Saturday night. Highlights coming up next. We're back on the Frank Haith Show, and Coach, you get ready for number 11 Houston. It's actually a place here at the Reynolds Center where you've beaten the Houston Cougars 2 years in a row. So you know your guys usually play well here at home against the Cougars, and this is a really good Houston team, as usual, coming in.
Yeah, they're really good. You know, top 25 and very talented, and they play the game the way they've always played it, you know, with aggressiveness, you know, rebounding, defense, that's their mark. And I thought our guys were ready to play. You know, we had more practice time getting ready for this game, and I thought we were dialed in ready to play.
Yeah, I was going to say, you had some really good practices leading up to this game, and certainly if the guys can't get excited about a 14-2 number 11 team coming in, then I'm not sure what they can get excited about. And they were ready to go, weren't they?
Yeah, they were ready to play, and it was a great hustle play here by Sam, and diving on the floor for that loose ball, and good layup finish by Jariah.
Tied the game at 2 here in the early going, and then with the score at 7-3, Ladavius Drain will end up with a nice backdoor cut there.
Yeah, that's a little back screen play, and a really good pass by Darian, and good layup.
And the Hurricane battling, but Houston would kind of inch it out a little bit. They would get their first double-digit lead of the ball game as Edwards, who would end up with an outstanding game for Houston with the bucket, and then Cheney inside, and all of a sudden you're down 10. But again, you've had these deficits before, and this is very early in the game.
Yeah, and we're still trying to get it going here offensively, and we got Ray there on the slip screen, and the kid Kyler Edwards had a great game, but prior to the game, he's shooting sub 30% from 3.
Right.
And he makes 7 threes. But nice hesitation and finish there by Tim.
Tim Dalger makes it 17-9, and then Anthony Pritchard with a nice move inside. And sometimes when they back off, you got to shoot that ball, don't you?
Yeah, and Pritchard's getting better with his decision making in terms of shot attempts.
And here's Ladavius Drain getting open, good ball movement, and he pots that one. And all of a sudden, it's a 20-14 game.
Yeah, good one more pass by Sam right there.
This is Houston running their offense, and they will end up again with the young man Edwards. And, he got fouled on the play. You had a guy flying at him, but unfortunately he made it and got the foul call. So the rare 4-point play, gives Houston just a little bit of, obviously a little bit of distance. But you get a 3-pointer here by Horn and knocks it back down to 29-20.
Yeah, we shared the ball right there, and Pritch got in the paint. We did a lot of that much better in the second half.
Yeah, and this is Jariah Horn. That shot actually makes it a 29-20 game. And then unfortunate at the end of the first half, as there you see Jariah with the basket. At the end of the first half, Houston gets a basket toward the end of the half, and then they get a steal, and then that. Goodness gracious, it seems like all of those are going in these days.
Yeah, that was tough, and I don't know what this. There's nothing to say.
You can't defend that much better, right?
Yeah.
You tap the ball out of the guy's hands, and then he throws in a wild prayer. And, at halftime, you're still doing well defensively at 39%. But, again, the shooting just isn't there yet for
Not
you.
yet. But I think we felt like we got some decent shots, although they're a really good defensive team. And but we didn't make the shots, and we needed to get better shots with better ball movement.
So in the second half, you do have a 17-point deficit, but to start the second half, you're really aggressive, and Konstantinovsky with the tap-in for you.
Yeah, and we made up this lead pretty quickly here in terms of just being aggressive, driving the ball there by Pritch, good layup. Another paint touch by Pritch, finding Jariah, and that was the key, us getting in that paint,
And that kind of unlocked Jariah a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah.
He'd been struggling shooting, and now all of a sudden he does get hot for you.
Again, there's just making that extra pass, sharing the ball, and all of a sudden 17-point lead, 10-point lead, 3 minutes into the second half, and then nice drive right here by DJ, and you can kind of see we made up that 17-point to single digit pretty quickly.
Right, and that was right at the shot clock buzzer, and boy, you surely need games like that from Darian Jackson. You could tell he was pretty happy to get that shot off in time. And again, you have good production out of Ray Idowu, and now the lead is down to 43-39.
Yeah, 4-point lead, and this 3 right here, 6-point lead, and that cuts it to 3 one-possession game with 13 minutes left to go in the game.
Yeah, and then moments later, Darian Jackson will get it going again. And again, when he drives to the basket, he squeezes the defense, and he's able to make that shot to make it a 3-point game again.
And then Houston went to a little zone, and we got that ball in the middle, a couple possessions. We kicked one out. We got one, obviously Ray scored in the lane, and we got another score, got in the paint and kicked it out, and Dry hits a 3.
You're down by 1 at that point, and then Houston with a bucket or 2, but then Anthony Pritchard, who continues to get that mid-range game going, huh?
Yeah, and there's Kyler Edwards making another tough 3, at the top.
That one was a tough one, and then Carlton with a 3 or with a 2 for them, and they kind of inched it back out after you guys made that great run. But down the backstretch, you guys did a very nice job of battling and struggling, and unfortunately that follow dunk made it an 8-point game. with about 12-point game. I'm sorry, with about 4 minutes to go. But you guys come roaring back again.
Well, we end up, like I said, it's all about squeezing the defense, particularly a good help defense team like these guys are, and we're scoring an out-of-bounds play. Pretty good. That was a good execution right there, and Sam makes that 3.
And that's just over 2 minutes to go in the game, and you get the ball back. You're down by 8 again, and Sam Griffin all of a sudden gets hot. I think he made 3 in a row, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. That was the second one. And then this one right here is a deep one to cut it to a one-possession game.
Yeah, that made it 66-64 with 1:06 to go. And now you're in a situation where you got to get a stop, and you do get a stop. And this is that play as the ball was thrown up at the last moment before the shot clock went off. It went out of bounds, and it is Tulsa ball. So now you have 6.6 seconds to go, and one of those plays where you're wondering who touches it last, but they got it right. And now you have Anthony Pritchard bringing it down and trying to tie the ball game up, and just couldn't quite get it to go. Unfortunately for the Hurricane, that one didn't go. It went out of bounds. It was off Houston, and now you have 0.4 seconds to get a shot off. And that one got partially blocked, and that's the ball game. Boy, a tough way to lose, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Anthony had a layup at the rim and just missed it. And then we didn't execute that last play. That play was for Jiraiya, and Sam broke it off. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough because I think these guys are battling, and they gave everything they had in that ball game against Houston, and we worked our butts off in that ball game.
Yeah, Jiraiya Horn leading the way for the Golden Hurricane. So TU having a tough week at home, and now we will look forward to next week. And next week, or this coming week, if you will, it'll be a road game against Cincinnati, and then at home against Memphis coming up on Sunday right here at the Reynolds Center. Back with more on the Frank Haith Show in a moment. We're back on the Frank Haith Show as the Golden Hurricane getting ready for another week of American Athletic Conference play. And Coach, there's a whole lot of adjustment that goes on during the course of a season, and you had the pause for COVID, but then you also, during that period of time, lost 2 players, and so now you have to continue to kind of cobble it together. You are going to need some performances out of young guys, aren't you?
Yeah, and you saw a little bit of Gavin and a little bit of Sterling here of late, and those guys have been working really hard, but they're going to have to be players for us. I mean, I think more so Sterling and maybe Gavin, but both those guys got to be available, and all hands are on deck, and we need more out of those guys. I think we've seen those guys at practice really develop and get better as we progress through the season. But now that they're getting thrown in there, and but I have a lot of confidence in both those guys. And Sterling, from what we need, his defensive presence, his toughness, knocking balls loose, rebounding ability, an area we struggle, I think he can bring all that to the table.
And, there was a time earlier in the year when you had a boatload of players and you're thinking you might redshirt one or both of those guys. But the good thing is those guys stayed ready just in case it was their time. And that's a credit to those 2 young men.
Yeah, I'll give those guys a lot of credit because it's hard. Both those guys were high school players. They were the best players on our team and playing a lot. And just staying ready and not having those preseason games to get your feet wet. They're getting their feet wet in conference games and at the highest level. And so I give those guys a lot of credit for staying with it and practice and then getting going in those games where, you don't have some of those early games that you can get your chance to get your feet wet and play because we're thinking of redshirting at that time. But now, we need those guys to help us win.
Absolutely. So we'll see more of Gavin and we'll see more of Sterling certainly as the season goes on. And speaking of guys, or new guys, if you will, let's take a closer look at Nikita Konstantinovsky. He's a young man from Ukraine. Let's get to know him a little bit more as we take it to break.
Nikita Konstantinovsky. I'm a junior and I'm from Kiev, Ukraine. I chose to come to University of Tulsa because of great relationship with the coach Haith and the coach Johnson and with all the coaching staff. I felt really good about this program. Yeah, I bring a lot of energy on the floor. Also, I like to block shots. I like to make plays, and also like to score a lot. One thing Tulsa fans don't know about me is that I know 3.5, 4 languages, and which is Ukrainian, Russian, English, a little bit of German. So yeah, and Yeah, that's pretty hard to learn. So my favorite NBA players are Giannis Antetokounmpo, Anthony Davis, and Jokic.
We're back on the Frank Haith Show, and Coach, you go on the road to Cincinnati, then at home against Memphis on Sunday, and Cincinnati is playing well. They just won at Wichita State, so they're certainly very good at home, although a couple of years ago you got that win at Cincinnati for the first time since the 1960s, so you can do it.
Just last year. Yeah,
it was last year. That's
just
right.
last year. And, you know, they're very talented. I mean, Davenport, super talented player. We know what kind of challenges are going to be going up there and playing their building. And you know, Wes is a young man I recruited, their coach. So be a tough ball game for us, and then we get a chance to come back home and play against Memphis on Sunday.
All right, so fans, we'll see you Sunday against Memphis right here at the Reynolds Center. For the head coach, I'm Bruce Howard. So long for now on the Frank Haith Show.
This has been a presentation from Learfield,